Well, let's begin by taking a roll call. Make sure we have a quorum. Justina?
I'm here. Sorry, can't hear you over Blue Angels practicing.
Thanks, Justina. Erin, I presume is still on maternity leave. Okay, Iolani.
Aloha, I'm here.
Thank you. Megan.
Hi, everyone. I'm here.
Thank you. Ben Naki.
I'm here.
Thank you. May.
I'm here.
Thank you. Peters is here. Ale Sarsona is absent. Mari.
I'm here.
Thank you. And Karen Yarosevich is away on the mainland. Melody.
Aloha, here.
We do have a quorum so that we can take action today. The non-voting members, is anyone here from DHS? I don't think so, but I'm going to check. Hearing no one. DHS is absent. Rochelle?
Here.
Steve Schatz?
I'm here.
And Matt, let's make it official.
Here.
Thank you. Two announcements before we get into the body of the agenda. The first is we will be going into executive session today as anticipated on the agenda. And secondly, we are going to hold a special meeting on August 25th from 1 to 3 p.m. It will be a hybrid meeting so that in person will be here again at SEED. And it will also be remote via Zoom. The special meeting is at the request of the Workforce Equity Subcommittee to share a pre-publication report of the RAND study that's been completed, and its final publication will be in probably September or October. But the subcommittee is ready to do some sharing with us, which would help us to know the results and also begin to think about particularly the legislative session that lies ahead. So August 25th, if you would save that date from 1 to 3 p.m. For a special meeting. We will again hold that as a hybrid meeting. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the review and approval of minutes. First of all, the public minutes from the 7/14/22 meeting. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So move, Bob.
Thank you, Mel. Is there a second?
This is Justina. I second the motion.
Thank you. Minutes have been, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the public minutes from the July 14, 2022 meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote to approve the minutes as presented. Justina?
Aye.
Iolani?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
May?
Aye.
I vote aye. Mari?
Aye.
Melody?
Approve. Aye,
Oh, hi,
Bob.
good afternoon. May I
Thank
speak
you.
to Kelma?
Minutes for the public portion of the meeting of July 14th have been approved.
To
as
about
presented.
Shanzits.
Chair will now entertain a motion to approve the executive session
Is the name or
minutes. I heard
six?
from
Is
no
the
one.
name? Yes.
With need for discussion, so we should be able to move forward to approve them at this meeting. May I have a motion to approve?
This is Adele calling from Maui Family Support Services. So Kelma requested assistance for the family.
All right,
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I don't believe I've heard a motion made yet, but
This is Megan. I tried. I'll
May
make a
is-
motion to approve the minutes, please.
Is there a second?
This is Ben. I'll second.
Thank you, Ben. I assume there is no discussion, so we'll move directly to the approval of the minutes as presented. Justina?
Aye.
Yolani?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
May?
Aye.
Mari?
Aye.
And Melody?
Aye.
The executive session minutes have been approved as presented. The next item on the agenda is public comment. You should all have received a piece of written testimony that was submitted by Deborah Zeisman, the Executive Director of Hawaii Children's Action Network, related to the Child Care Provider Appreciation Month and the work that HECA is doing. If you have not received it, please let us know. The testimony was also published on the website, and this particular month celebration will be discussed further by Justina in the subcommittee reports. Is there any other public testimony? Anything in the chat? I don't see anything, Jordana, no? Then we will move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is a presentation by Stephen Schatz from P20 related to the P20 revised attainment goal and early learning metrics. Steve, we're going to turn it over to you, and Jordana will do the screen sharing from our end for you.
Thanks, appreciate it. Hi, everyone. So hopefully this will be a presentation and a dialogue. So as I think all of you know, the state has had an attainment goal for a long time, and that was the goal of 55 by 25. And that goal was that 55% of working age adults would have a 2 or 4 year degree by the year 2025. And that goal was set in 2009 by the P20 Council. And the P20 Council is an advisory body that consists of education leadership, union leadership, philanthropy, political leaders, and others. And we've been having this dialogue over the past year and a half or so about whether we need a new attainment goal for the state. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, it was set in 2009. The goal was specifically about increasing the educational attainment levels of our state. And I would say it was embraced by the education ecosystem, and it was supported by many. And we were the first, it says one of the first, but we were actually the first state to set an attainment goal in the entire country. Next slide, please. So we've been over maybe the past 4 years or so, we've been tracking the overall number of what is the percentage of our working age adults who have a degree, but we've also been tracking leading indicators of success, and we've noted some improvement. So we definitely want to celebrate that we've made some progress. The high school graduation rate in the public schools has increased pretty significantly. 4-year college going rate has increased significantly. Overall college going rate had increased, and then it plateaued and then during the pandemic declined. The University of Hawaii graduation rates across all 10 campuses have increased, as have persistence and first to second year rates. And the UH system continues to graduate more students with degrees. And overall, that number that by which we measure our progress on 55 by 25 has increased just a little bit from 42% in 2009 to 46% in 2020. Next slide, please. So the question is why do we need a new goal? And there are quite a few reasons. One is, as I mentioned, our previous goal was only about college degrees. It was not about training programs that were not at a college. It was not about non-credit certificates that you could get at the college. It was only about associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees. The other one, and this is a pretty important one, is that some sectors have more opportunity for employment in Hawaii than others. So just having a degree attainment goal doesn't necessarily meet the needs of Hawaii. So, the simple way to explain this is we wanted to have a goal that was not only about increasing our individual students' ability to achieve their academic and education goals, but also that was sort of recursively supportive of Hawaii's current and future economic needs. Also, 55 by 25 didn't take into account in and out migration. So the number that we get is from the census. And so it's not tracked by the education pipeline. It's literally who lives here. So if we have an out migration of folks without degrees and an in migration of folks with degrees, we'll actually make quote unquote progress on 55 by 25, but not in the way we would want. So we wanted to create a goal that made a little more sense in the context of meeting our current and future workforce needs. And then the fourth bullet is probably the most interesting to folks at this meeting, which is we didn't even include early education at all. We didn't track it as part of leading indicators. It just wasn't part of the conversation. So we just wanted to try and figure out a goal that was for the entire community and not just the education ecosystem. Next slide. So we've been working together. We had some philanthropic support to join a group of states who are doing sort of similar work. We have a cross-sector, multi-sector steering committee, including philanthropy, Superintendent Hayashi, President Lasner, Yuko's on the group, and we are kind of delving into both the big and little picture of what a goal might look like. We are intending to have a solid draft for statewide consideration by the P20 Council this fall, and we want to end up by hopefully having this new attainment goal approved by our P20 Council by the end of the year. I'll say that since I've been at P20, which I think is 5 years now, we've never had a vote. I think the only vote in the history of the P20 Council was the first time we voted on 55 by 25. So this may be vote number 2. Next slide. So the current work in progress and where we've landed is a narrative description of our attainment goal, which is Hawaii graduates for Hawaii's future. Originally, we had Hawaii students for Hawaii's jobs, but it's not just about meeting the workforce needs of today. It's about creating jobs. It's about innovative practices that create new economic opportunities as well. And then we divided it into 5 principles, and each of those principles, as you can see, kind of moves through the educational pipeline. And then beneath each of those principles, there will be not only quantitative metrics to track, but also some of the initiatives, programs, and activities that are going on that we will be tracking along the way. And so we're trying to keep it simple, but we want a goal that engages with not only early ed, but K-12, higher ed, and then you'll notice that principles 4 and 5 explicitly go beyond an education goal. It's about meeting workforce needs and filling jobs and creating more jobs. So what we think is, in spite of the fact that we've gone from a quantitative description of an attainment goal to a narrative description, we actually think we might end up with more quantitative rigor in this particular way we framed it, with the 5 principles along the educational pipeline. And sort of my goal and my thinking is that the P20 Council will hold the space for sort of collectively monitoring our progress as a state in each of these areas. Okay, so that was a lot, and I want to make sure we open it. We can get into the specifics of what we might want to see in the early education bucket, or I can take more general questions and comments as well. And I guess I'll rely on Jordana to call on folks. Okay, I see Justina, so.
Hey, Steve, I have a question. I really like that layout of the principles that you guys have designed so that it gives you a holistic view of where you're trying to make changes in the system. Do you have any ideas for, say, that first principle around, access and completion around early childhood education, what you guys may look at for indicators, just out of curiosity more than anything?
Yeah, we do. Sorry, you go. Do you have it right in front of you by any chance?
I'm pulling it up.
Some of the indicators are probably pretty familiar to you guys, especially the high school ones. It's still going to include, but not be limited to graduation rate, college going rate. Even the college ones will be, college success, those kinds of things. But you go, can you throw me a life?
Yeah, so some of the things that, I'll back up just a little bit. So, while we were there, we had the opportunity to talk with each other, and that was actually the first time we were all in the space. So that's where what Steve was highlighting is kind of where we ended up. So, but some of the things that we talked about are a percent of underserved students, children attending quality early learning programs prior to kindergarten entry with equity breakdown. And then we were looking at the percent of kindergarten students meeting or exceeding expectations in the 5 developmental and learning domains of the kindergarten entry assessment with equity breakdown. And then there were some other pieces that were in there that are probably going to shift to the K-12 space, but it was really evolving as we had the opportunity to sit there and speak with each other. So my goal was just to create alignment with some of the pieces which we are already responsible for and working on right now. But if there's anything else that people want to consider, I'd love to hear it. It was just the beginning dialogue, I think, for me at that conference.
Yeah, and I think just the approach we're taking here, of course, is we want to align with what's already being measured and already being worked on. And so, yeah, we sort of don't want to create new and different goals. We want to be aligned, and in similar to we're really thinking of ourselves in some ways as putting a little meat, or even more meat, into the change framework too. The Hawaii Community Foundation change framework, because the E is where we sit. Yeah. Megan, long time no see.
Hi there. Yeah. I just have a more basic question about the genesis of this study and, how it came about in 2009, because one of your first slides showed that, we've risen from, I think, a 23% graduation rate in the state to 33. So how does that, I guess 2 questions. What was the genesis of the study, and how does this data compare to other states? Is that sort of what we're trying to, do we measure ourselves against other states? And
I think sometimes measuring against other states is useful, but I always think of it as golf. I just want to get better by myself. And I don't know if anybody else golfs, but I don't worry necessarily about whether or not I'm beating someone else. I just want to continue to improve. That 23 to 33 was actually the 4-year college going rate. And so, but the genesis of the conversation was kind of this idea that a huge percentage of the good jobs in Hawaii required more than a high school diploma. And so the attainment goal that was set back then was essentially to say, hey, we need to give our kids a chance to get these good jobs that exist in this state. And so that was kind of the most basic thing was we're not graduating enough kids from high school. We're not getting enough of them into college. And a lot of the good jobs in Hawaii require some kind of college. And again, when I say college, it's not always a 4-year degree we're talking about, right? Like even at P20, when we report our data, we're talking about 2- and 4-year degree technical school, trade schools across the United States.
Thank you.
Oh, Bob.
Thank you, Steve. This is a question with regard to principle number 1, obviously. It says improve and increase early education participation. Is participation the primary objective in this principle? Because that's the way it reads to me. So is that what we're measuring?
I mean, I think the reason we got the 2 verbs in there is because we want it to be both, right? Improve and increase. But I'm open to ways that we could morph the verbiage so as to indicate that when we increase, we do so with quality, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's basically the question I was thinking of. And it's strictly just in reading the language here because it feels as if participation is the outcome.
Yeah, well, and a lot of that may depend on what metrics we end up choosing, right, to measure progress. Because at the end of the day, we can say whatever we want to describe the metric, but if we're measuring certain things, that'll be like a little bit of the meat, that indicates what we really value, right?
As you look at that piece of it, I would want to be fairly assured that the conversation wasn't going to be just where these kids are going to be received, but also where they're coming from. In other words, it's not just K entry that we're interested in here. No, we're interested in more than that. Or 3rd grade reading, although those would be reasonable outcomes. I'm not suggesting not, but that we don't overlook the other elements. And
I
I
agree.
get a sense from something that Yuko said that probably was the case, but I would just like to get that stated.
No, I appreciate that, and that's something that we will make sure is reflected.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Any other comments or questions for Steve?
Could I just add a clarification?
Sure.
So, kind of going along with what you're sharing, when you're talking about that 3rd grade piece, so that was originally under 1, but we have to reshuffle that. So that was probably going to go down into the K-12 section. But another way of talking about that first principle was that each child will have access to high quality early care and education. So that was another possibility. And what we really want principle 1 to reflect is something that encompasses from prenatal to kindergarten entry. And so, and then underneath that to identify which indicators we might be looking for.
Thank you.
And I'll say too, because I know we don't have a ton of time today. We're all open to feedback, not just in this venue. So please feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to Yuko, and we're happy to meet or have a conversation via email.
Steve, one other question for me. Will your goal is to have this approved by P20. Will it be a public document before then, or will it only be after that?
I didn't hear the last part of your question. Sorry.
Will it be a public document before the approval so that if people wanted to give some input, they might be able to do that before it goes to the P20 council?
I'm not sure we've considered it. We're, like I said, we're a little new to being a voting body. So, so we didn't necessarily think about that, but happy to share it with whoever's interested, for sure.
I just think it would be helpful if we could give input before it appears for approval. And I'm assuming this group would be willing to, or members of it would be willing to take a look and give some feedback. That will be appropriate. Okay, thank you.
Got it.
Any other comments or questions?
Bob, I just have one real quick. I just wanted to confirm, Steve, if the part about participation in high quality early learning programs includes FCIL programs.
Yeah, that's our intention. Yuko, that's our intention. Yeah.
Yes, we were trying to make it broad enough so that we're not just talking about preschool. We wanted to make sure that we're encompassing everything from prenatal to 5. So we were kind of going back and forth in terms of how do we write it broad enough so that our indicators underneath it can address each of the different types of opportunities families have to participate in.
Thank you.
Really helpful feedback, I think, today. So I definitely appreciate it.
Anyone else? Before we let Steve off the hot seat. I don't see anything else, Steve, but thank you so much for sharing this with us. And as a personal response, I'm really excited to see P20 moving in this direction. It makes a great deal more sense to not limit it to college measurements of success, and more suited to both the breadth of our population and I think the future needs of our states.
I'll tell you, I'll just add to, like, when we compare ourselves to other states, they may have a educational attainment goal, but usually it's just higher ed at the table. So, you know, the fact that we've got higher ed, K-12, early learning, you know, and others at the table, it's a little bit different than most states. So I think we have an opportunity right now as a state.
Great, thank you so much. And we'll look forward to hearing more.
Thanks.
Thank you. Right. The next item on the agenda is the, Executive Office on Early Learning Updates. And we will then move into the biennium budget requests in that portion of the meeting. So I will turn it over to Yuko, you and your staff.
Are you able to the PowerPoint from the picture? Okay, there. Okay, thank you. So the first thing, knowing that Steve was going to be presenting just prior to me, I just wanted to share this picture that we took at the Institute. And what I really appreciated was that I was invited and that we had an opportunity to really question and wonder and learn from the other states which are present. And as Steve shared, they were really focused on that high school piece. I mean, high school into university piece, but I guess I was definitely an outlier in the space, but it was safe enough where they asked a lot of questions and wonderings and started to think about how can they also include the realm of early learning into things that where they think about statewide. But it was also nice to learn from the different entities which were there, people from governor's offices, people from workforce development sections, and all of that. So I'm really thankful that I was able to join them, and I look forward to the rest of our conversations later. So our group is going to start our updates, and I will start with Jordana first. So we're doing a biennial presentation later on. The biennial presentation will happen later on. That's going to be updated.
Okay.
Okay, Colleen. We have a memorandum of agreement.
continuation of what we had the previous year. And we are again moving forward with expansion by looking at the 23 schools that have applied for to open up their classrooms in 24-25, school year 24-25. We continue to take in applications for
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so reiterating again, we have a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Education for the public pre-K program, which is a continuation of what we've had the previous year. We are in the process still yet of looking at the 23 schools and working with the Department of Education and the schools as we move forward with hoping for classrooms to open up in the school year 24-25 period. And we are continuously, we do our applications for our current classrooms year round, so that continues. Pretty much the classrooms, what's not on the updates is that our classrooms at this point in time with the Department of Education, principals are have some flexibility in terms of deciding how they're going to arrange the at least the first quarter for the year because of the optional masking situation that is occurring. They are working with us to let us know what will be in the best interest of their school community as to whether to just open up to potentially a full classroom of 20 or maintain the smaller number for now and then assess again as we go into the second quarters or some combination thereof. And so we are wanting to make sure that there is that flexibility for them so they can address their family needs and the concerns or the parameters that they have to operate within so that the staff and the children and families are comfortable and in a safe and healthy environment.
Do they, if they decide that they can take more students, is there a wait list that some of these people are on that they would then be invited to attend?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of the schools have wait lists now, but some of them still do not. Numbers are still on the lower side compared to previously, but some of them do have that wait list that they will go to.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions for Colleen?
Thank you. Alohi?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me good? Or okay? Okay. So I wanted to use this time to to share a little bit about our pre-planning for the upcoming preschool development renewal grant. The announcement still has not been shared. We are looking forward to that in September. However, we wanted to give some opportunity to collect some feedback and share ideas on what should be included in our upcoming proposal. So in a few days, I want to be able to send out to our early childhood community, especially those connected to the past PDGB-5 work and work up until now, and be able to ask that question via Google form. So please be on the lookout for that. And I just want to give you a heads up, Bob, that I might also ask you to encourage people via email when I am able to send it out, and ask the ELB and our various members to encourage people to share their ideas, whether it's what you'd like to see with our state plan renewal efforts or within our PDGB-5 proposal, or if you may have something else more specific in mind. Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Chris.
Hello, everyone. I think you have the written report from the CLAB office, but just a couple of highlights. We are the Head Start, the 6 Head Start and early Head Start programs are still recruiting for children and families birth to 5 across the islands. Most of the grantees are nearing full enrollment. And as you've heard us report over many meetings, this September, the Federal Office of Head Start is really going to be taking a look again at full enrollment count, as well as in-person comprehensive services for children and families after 2 years of more flexibility and waivers in the past. So we are really reaching out to partners to help with referring kiddos birth to 5 to the early Head Start and Head Start programs here in Hawaii. Most of the grantees have started their first the new school year, with the exception of one, which will be starting up soon. Again, because of the severe staffing shortages that are still ongoing, several of the grantees will not be able to open up all of their classrooms as in the past, but we'll continue to work towards recruiting and hiring staff to be able to be at full enrollment and to have all of our classrooms open and functioning as soon as possible. To that end, the Federal Office of Head Start has strongly encouraged local grantees to implement workforce development strategies, including different kinds of incentives for both recruitment and retention practices. And in one of the most recent information memorandums, they actually were strongly suggesting that wage comparability studies be updated to include comparison with elementary school staff. So kindergarten teacher salaries, to take a look at what that might be, and then to try to adjust their own salary and compensation of their staff. There's just a lot of ongoing efforts to try to really help promote workforce recruitment and retention right now. And what's not on this update is just to bring to your attention the fact that although the Department of Human Services Child Care Program Office has issued updated COVID guidance for child care programs where masking is voluntary for kiddos, although strongly encouraging staff to continue. Head Start is under slightly different requirements right now. Our Federal Office of Head Start still requires that staff and children over the age of 2 continue to be masked both indoors and outdoors, unless the children are unable to wear masks appropriately or safely. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect or misalignment between those Head Start classrooms that are on DOE campuses, because our requirements are a little different from what DOE has right now in place. But we are hopeful that there will be a final rule coming down from the Office of Head Start that will allow for more flexibility, so that we can be more in alignment with the Child Care Program Office's new guidance that just came out. Otherwise, the other things here listed are for your reading pleasure. Thanks so much. Happy to answer any questions.
Do you want to talk about the community engagement activities?
Hello, everyone. So I think some of you have probably already gotten the emails. Alohi has been coordinating the logistics pieces and planning for these engagement meetings. We are doing it in collaboration with the Department of Human Services. So we're hosting meetings with providers, including family child care providers and center-based programs. We had one session so far, and we have a few more upcoming in the next few weeks. The purpose of these meetings are twofold. So one is to go over Act 46, so just explain some of the provisions of the act that pertain specifically to providers. And then the second part is an information gathering session. So we want to hear feedback from providers on any barriers or any concerns they might have related to the act and the goals and provisions in the act, and as well as information on what types of supports might be helpful for them in order to achieve the provisions put forth in the act. So if anyone has any questions, you can let me know. I've had a few providers reach out, and we are documenting the conversations that we're having with folks. And then we will be working internally to figure out how we want to sort of shuffle through that data. And we do plan to continue touching base with providers. We've gotten feedback that folks do want to continue being updated or continue having these conversations. So we will plan for that once these engagement sessions are complete. Happy to answer any questions anyone may have on that.
Thank you. Then in terms of our personnel positions, you can see that there are lots of positions that we have yet to fill. We are interviewing for our communication specialist at the end of this month. The educational specialist for workforce development is in process as well. For our business management officer and administrative services assistant, we're waiting for a confirmation of a panel participant before we can move forward with those interviews. We are also waiting for an educational specialist to respond about an acceptance of the offer that was made. We have somebody temporarily assigned in our program specialist position, and we're looking to recruit for that office assistant position at this. We have 2 more updates. Jeff will speak now. Jeff?
Aloha kako. Nice to see everyone. I wanted to share with you some of the work that we're doing in the office to keep you informed of our thinking around expansion of early care and education opportunities. Most recently inspired by the Act 46 work and the School Facilities Authority and what the conversations around how are we going to start to prioritize regions across the state and communities for expansion. So this is a tool that we have created. This is actually a partnership between EOEL and Early Childhood Action Strategy. I've been working closely with Doug Immig there, and I want to give him the credit he deserves. So this is it's a web-based tool, but what we've been building here is a site in which we're kind of conceptualizing a way of measuring and talking about prioritizing communities. And it comes down to these 2 concepts, access and opportunity, as we're using the term. Next slide, please. The way that we're talking about access is building on the great work that's been done by our friends and colleagues at the UH Manoa Center on the Family. They have a great mapping site where they have a nice, innovative, and sophisticated measure of access to early childhood education. So it's in 3 parts, right? They're taking into account the number of seats that are nearby folks' homes, their affordability vis-a-vis the median income in those neighborhoods, and then the number of high quality providers that are in the area. So we think that that's sort of one side of the coin, and we've been expanding our thinking to try to capture what we're calling opportunity, which is what are the characteristics of the communities themselves and the people and families that live there that might warrant prioritizing some over others in terms of need. So the good folks at Brandeis University created this other website, which is also a map that some of you may have seen, diversitydatakids.org. And this is kind of akin to what the Center on the Family folks did. They've done this with opportunity. They've created an index with 29, based on 29 metrics. And they cover these 3 dimensions: education, health and environment, and social and economic. So we've got 29 indicators. They're weighted based on how predictive they are of economic and health outcomes for children. And so we're looking at these 2 existing data sources, which we're very pleased with. They're not ideal, but they are very helpful. Next slide, please. And we want to make the case that looking at access just in terms of the availability of seats in an area, including their affordability, including their quality, that's only part of the story. So here's a scatter plot. This chart I'd like you to look at for a second. So on the vertical axis, we're looking at low access all the way up to high access. That's the Center on the Family data. So those on the bottom have very low access in their community. On the horizontal axis, we've got the Child Opportunity Index. On the left, it's low opportunity. On the right, it's high opportunity. So you'll notice the red shaded area there. That's the high need area, right? So what what we've done here is pulled out 2 communities, and these are defined by zip code. So these are 2 communities that have almost the exact same score in terms of access, but they're very different in terms of opportunity. So just a little bit of data there to bear that out. In Mountain View on Big Island, the households in poverty, this is households with children under 5 or 6, 56%, median income 41,000, so on. In La EA, households with children under 6 in poverty, 0, median income nearly 100,000. So what we're saying is we acknowledge that the conditions in a community, the social determinants of health, the social determinants of educational success and prosperity are relevant here, and we want to draw that out. So what we've done is we're trying to pay attention to those high need communities in the red area and learn more about them. We want to look more into what is it that they need, how can we support them in a holistic way that matches the holistic way that we're thinking about access to ECE. It works in conjunction with all these other services. Next slide, please. Last one here. This is also part of this tool that we've built here. This is searchable, so we can punch in a zip code and we can look up the access score, the opportunity score. So this particular one has an access score of 0.24. They generally go up to about 1 or 1 1/4, and the opportunity index score. And we've got a little data on those communities. So this is we're sharing this with you just so you know how we're thinking about this. We'd like to. We have to acknowledge that there are many other criteria that may be relevant for choosing where to open new programs, but we think that access and opportunity are a couple of key points that we're going to be focusing on. So we wanted you all to know about it. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. And Kelly?
Hi, yes, just wanted to update the board that the EOEL has recently executed an MOU with the Department of Education's section on, it's the EHCY, Education of Homeless Children and Youth. And so the purpose of the MOU is to improve the coordination of services for Hawaii's children experiencing homelessness, ages birth through 5, and their families. And we're going to be doing that through collaboration in various areas, such as supporting the EHCY's early childhood navigator position, working on identifying communities that can benefit from FCILs and expanding those services, looking at data together and using that to make informed decisions, as well as working on professional development to raise awareness of our homeless keiki. So there's just some numbers on the slide there that you can take a look at, but we're really excited about this partnership and working together with the department to provide more support and coordination of services for this population. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Next slide. Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to say thank you again to these members of our board for hosting My Learning. There are some meetings that are going to be coming up soon. And so I look forward to learning more from you. Next slide. So coming up at the end of this month, Karen McKnight, who's the Deputy Director for Early Learning Programs at the Hunt Institute, reached out to me to invite me to a nonpartisan policy support, group of elected officials and educational leaders. It's called the Early Childhood Leadership Summit. And it's going to be comprised of governors, office staff, legislatures, state agency leads who will participate in a 2-day event. And they started in 2018 with 8 teams. And this year they're going to be bringing 52 teams, which each state is going to be represented. And so currently, Senator Misalucha, Representative Woodson, Representative Yamane have already registered. And along with me, Deputy Superintendent Armstrong and Dana Luca will be heading off to the Hunt Institute at the end of this month. Next slide. Another national opportunity which is coming up is the National P3 Institute. And so originally, this conversation of whether we should participate in this was going around our office, and I was still very new at that time, and it was kind of hard for me to figure out which institutes were which. And later on, the Hawaii Charter School was already going to be putting in an application for this. And after I had a conversation with them, it came out that Hawaii should have one application. And so because they had already started progress and I had not yet started progress, they invited EOEL to be a part of their collaboration. And they had already anticipated bringing along the Department of Education. And so I said, sure, I'd be glad to join you. They asked if EOEL should take the lead, and I said, no, not right now, because they had already started the work. So I'm jumping along with them. But when we wrote in for it, what we submitted was that the primary motivating factor for us sending a team to the National Institute is to begin a system of collaboration and communication and alignment of practices between three public pre-K entities. So the Hawaii Department of Education, Executive Office on Early Learning, and also the Hawaii State Public Charter School Commission. And all three educational entities have new leaders. And so attending the Institute will be an opportunity to provide us to work together to figure out some collaboration, cordial, productive working relationships with a unified approach to identify strategies to create a comprehensive early childhood to grade 3 system. And these efforts will strive to improve the educational continuum of childhood experiences beginning at birth. And in addition to building new relationships, our collective hope is to continue to make progress on our early childhood state plan, while also critically analyzing where we are and where we want to go in the future. So I'm looking forward to that in September. Next slide, please. So revisiting this, which I submitted as part of my finalist presentation, our office has been really moving, myself and our office have been really moving through learning, formulating, and now we are really in the activating stage, but we are also revisiting the learn and formulate spaces. So we are figuring out how we do our work, how do we work with each other, how do we galvanize our work towards opportunities, what adjustments might we need to make, and how do we empower our office, how do we empower each other, and where do we want to go in the future. So next slide. And so part of this has come to our office being able to identify strategic priorities which are aligned with our biennium request. And so when you look at these priorities, we're looking at increasing equitable access and utilization of high quality early childhood opportunities. And that was very much aligned with the P20 piece. Coordinating high quality and early childhood development and learning programs. So having those conversations amongst many stakeholders, supporting the workforce development initiatives and addressing workforce barriers, implementing Act 46 and coordinating with key stakeholders to increase access to early learning programs, including Hawaiian Medium, promoting collaboration in the field from prenatal through kindergarten entry across public and private sectors in alignment with the early childhood state plan, and also expanding the capacity of EOEL and the Early Learning Board to facilitate early learning childhood system building. And so this will lead right into our biennium request. I can so this is a visual depicting the budget cycle based on necessary deadlines in the legislative session. The legislative session occurs from January through May. And as you can see, we've already started gearing up for our next session, which is the start of the biennium. We've been working with key stakeholders and drawing on previous ideas to develop ideas on our next request. And we're sharing our request today in order to meet our legislative deadlines. And we need board approval by the end of this month. So once we receive board approval, we would need to make the request to the governor. And please note that since this is the governor's last term, his final day in office is going to be December 5th, 2022. And because of that, our deadlines are a bit more advanced than typical, which is board approval by the end of this month. So once approved, we will work diligently with the governor's office to review requests. What's approved by the governor by October. Okay, next slide, please. So this is our base budget. This is a snapshot of our total budget based on the last appropriations made last session. The $100,000 of B funds is the appropriation ceiling for the Early Childhood Educator Stipend Program Special Fund, which was approved last session. Next slide. So fiscal year 23 asks. So I'd like to move us into the future and walk us through our fiscal year 23 budget asks. So we first would like to request about 1.1 million for the ELB public pre-K program. We have 23 to 24 potential classrooms, which we would like to open in school year 25. The funding request in fiscal year 23 would be to support the start of the induction program and personnel, such as state office teachers and a program specialist, to support the preliminary work needed to gear up to open classrooms the following year. Please note that the request for fiscal year 25, which is going to come a little bit later, will be much higher as it will include operational costs to run these classrooms. Under ELB office systems building, our requests include two FTE position counts for the business manager and the administrative services assistant. So previously, these positions sit within EOEL, but they are not FTE positions. So we would like to make the request that they can be turned into FTE positions. It also includes one FTE position count and appropriations for program specialists to aid in efforts related to convening stakeholders and updating and implementing our early childhood state plan, as that will expire in 2024. It also includes funding for contracts to update the needs assessment and facility study, which I'll discuss in more detail on the next slide. And this request will be a one-time non-recurring request, and it will only be made in fiscal year 22. We are also requesting 600,000 appropriation of general funds to the Early Childhood Educator Stipend Program. These funds will be used to help administer the stipend program as well to provide stipends to eligible students. Depending on each person's degree path, we project this amount of funding could possibly assist anywhere from 50 to 300 students. The CDA track is less expensive, so we could help possibly 300 students at the community college level complete their CDAs, or 50 students if they were enrolling in a master's program. We are also requesting 600,000 for FCIL expansion. This amount would allow us to open 4 new FCIL programs. And with existing funds in our budget, we could possibly open up 9 FCIL programs in total. Next slide.
So you can.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, is that the FCIL? Oh, the 23? Okay, so sorry.
So the
Sorry. I was
24 is only
okay, yes.
So
Okay, I'm so sorry. So sorry. She's putting up something and I'm reading off of mine and I was not watching what she was putting up. I'm so sorry. Is that the breakdown?
Yes.
The public pre-K? Okay. Let's see. Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah, so for the EOEL systems building, we've got 3 FTEs. So office supplies, contracts, updating the state plan, public pre-K, it'll go towards, again, the induction program and personnel. For the stipend program, funds for eligible students, and the expansion to 4 new FCIL programs. Okay, next slide. Then in the following year, I'm so sorry. In that same year, the request from the Early Learning Board for 1 FTE for an institutional analyst, travel funds, office supplies, and a contract to aid the early learning board on systems building capacity. So would you like to add to that?
I'll just add very briefly the personnel position, just to remind everyone, the allowance was through 2023 for the institutional analyst position. We need to continue that, obviously, to implement the Act 46 and 210, and therefore are required to go back to a request to make it part of the operating budget. Travel funds relate to the position of the institutional analyst. Office supplies are pretty self-explanatory. The last bullet is an effort to really take a look at our capacity as systems builders and to provide some board development around systems building with a couple of objectives. One, to ensure we have a shared understanding of systems and agree upon what they are and what they look like within our early childhood sphere, to identify strategies that will help us to optimize collaborative governance, meaning shared goals and resource allocations within a system like ours where authority is dispersed among various agencies. And finally, to identify how to implement systems theories of change to achieve some system level outcomes that will benefit all stakeholders. And so the object here is really to grow our capacity in systems building, which is obviously one of the key functions we have. It will also serve the office, I think, in its system building efforts as well. So these are professional development, board development funds that are being allocated here. All right, I think that's it for me for that explanation.
Okay, yes. So should all of these requests be approved, these figures would represent how it would shift our funding and our FTE counts. Next slide. So for fiscal year 25, here are our asks. Much of the asks are the same, so we'll focus on what's different from the prior set. So related to the ELB public pre-K program, the budget asks for a larger amount as it also includes operational and personnel costs to actually open those 23 to 24 classrooms in fiscal year 25. The EOEL office systems building request is decreased since the funding for a contract to update the needs assessment and facility studies were non-recurring. And the request will be to maintain funding for the 1 FTE program specialist position to assist with updating and implementing the early childhood state plan. Next slide. So much of the requests remain the same. However, note that the EOEL public pre-K costs include personnel needed to open new classrooms, including teachers, educational assistants, state office teachers, and an office assistant. Next slide. And again, this is for the early learning board. I don't know if you have any.
No, it remains the same.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Next slide. So here's a snapshot of the total budget should our request for our fiscal year 25 be approved. And please note that the early childhood educator stipend fund will be abolished in 2023. The appropriation ceiling will no longer be needed and will be removed from our budget requests. Next slide. So we'd like to take a dive around the personnel and positions that we're requesting. So we've had a lot of conversations about what many believe our office does and how we can enhance the capacity of our systems focus. So the positions which we're requesting include the institutional analyst reporting to the early learning board will help us expand our capacity to build the systems and fulfill our charge, including the implementation of Act 46. The positions will also allow us to support operational pieces such as fiscal and contract matters necessary to continue building the full scope of our system pieces as well. And based on feedback from stakeholders related to the state plan and strategic implementation plans, EOEA recognizes that we must increase the amount of coordination and convening support to support partners and effectively collaborate to successfully implement our shared state plan goals. So having this extra team member will be able to realize and increase EOEL's capacity to do so. The new program specialist position will work with the existing program specialist, who's currently Alohi, and other EOEL state staff to update and implement the new state plan, as well as the PDG renewal grant if it's awarded. Next slide. So here is our current organizational chart today, and I'd like to show how the request of these new positions will shift our organizational chart. Next slide. So the green portions are where they will be adjusted and added. So you can see the portions on the left are a part of our public pre-K organizational piece, and on the right are for the cohesiveness of the office. And please know that this organizational chart is still something our systems building team in our office are having conversations about how do we organize ourselves to accomplish the work for which we are responsible. But currently, this is how it would look. Next slide. And this slide depicts the slight change that would come as a result of our fiscal 25 year request. And so it's just that one, a few dots off onto the left side. Next slide. And so again, looping back to the strategic priorities, which our office is focusing on right now. You can see how the biennium requests are aligned with these strategies here to increase equitable access and utilization of high quality early childhood opportunities, to coordinate high quality and early childhood development and learning programs, to support workforce development initiatives and address workforce barriers, implement Act 46 and coordinate with key stakeholders to increase access to early learning programs, including Hawaiian medium, to promote collaboration in the field from prenatal through kindergarten entry across public and private sectors in alignment with the early childhood state plan, and to also expand the capacity of EOEL and the early learning board to facilitate early childhood system building. So I realized that from the time we started talking with all of our updates to the biennium request, it's been a lot of information. If you please let me know what questions you have, and you can ask them, and either I can help to answer, or people from my team who are here physically or online can jump in to help answer.
Okay, we have before us not only the bill, but I'm going to ask Justina if she would share the recommendation from the Finance Subcommittee to the board, and then we can open it up for discussion.
Great suggestion, Bob. And thank you, Yuko, and your whole team for preparing a thorough presentation about the biennium request, and also meeting with Steve and I ahead of time as part of the Finance Committee to go over it. So my recommendation from the Finance Subcommittee is that we approve the biennium budget request that Yuko just laid out. And I think we'll need a second in order to open the floor for discussion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mari has seconded. So the motion has been made and seconded to approve the biennium request on the recommendation of the Finance Committee. So the floor is now open for questions and discussions with regard to the budget and biennium requests. We can also go back into the slides if people need reminders of that information that was there. May, you got something?
I have a question. Yuko, could you share with us a little bit more about the Hawaiian medium that's a part of the budget?
So it's not actually a position, but it's more, so that is actually more about supporting the work of the opening of the EOEL pre-K space, and also trying to improve the coordination effort. So one of the schools that are interested in becoming an EOEL pre-K would like to open a Hawaiian medium preschool, and that would be the first for EOEL. And so that is where that's where that priority aligns, because it will be something new for our office.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, or observations?
I just had a quick question about the FCIL budget between FY. I missed the FY25. Is it the same amount as FY24 for the FCIL, or was it more? Sorry, I missed that.
Right now, the way that we budgeted and we're requesting, it would be the same.
Okay, so it would be to maintain then, not to expand in the FY25 then, right?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you, so
Oh.
you're asking that, are we making two separate, like a request at the biennium and one? Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat your question?
No, I just missed the amount for the FY25 for the FCIL budget piece of the budget. I missed it.
It's the same amount.
Oh, same amount. Okay, so it's just to maintain then, right? It's not further expansion, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's okay.
Can I chime in then too? Because one thing to keep in mind, and someone from EOL can help me out, but we have only two sponsored FCIL programs currently. And so if this funding is approved, then actually we can get up to 9 FCIL programs. So it would be an expansion, but just not an expansion in the second year.
Got it. That's what I was wondering. If it was, I got that the FY24 was expansion. I just wanted to, I missed the amount for FY25, so I wasn't sure if it was the same amount or more to expand even more. But I understand. Thanks. That's good.
Megan, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Yuko and the Finance Committee for preparing this. I'm sure you put a lot of work into it, so I really appreciate it. My question is pretty general, kind of like Ben. I just was wondering about the 2.1 million in the first year that you mentioned for the, I think you said 23 to 24 new classrooms. That was to expand to that number, right, in fiscal year 24.
So so part of my speaking was not matching the slide because we were working off of two separate things. But here, when you're talking here, in this is the first of the year one of the biennium, and so it's to bring in the 5 FTE counts to support the onboarding of the schools. So the next year we will get all the teacher and EA positions. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, sorry. Can you repeat that again? I apologize. I don't think I followed.
Okay, no problem. So I'll jump between two different slides. So it's not 2.1 in the first year. The first year is 1.2 for 5 FTE counts, so 5 positions to support the onboarding of the new schools, the 23 to 24 new schools in the first year. And then Jordina, can you show the next slide? So then the next year of the same, go down a bit to the 25 of the same. And then this is where it goes to 3.2 because it's going to become 52, where we have the teachers and the EAs.
I see. Okay, thank you. So those spaces or those schools have already been identified, the classrooms.
So the people who are interested in being a part of our EOEL public pre-K have already made themselves known, and we've already been having conversations with them. Now what we need to do to fully open it is to get the requests for the positions funded.
I see. Okay, thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Anyone else have questions or comments? I don't see any. Anything in the chat for Dana? All right. Are we ready to take a vote then? Hearing no additional, seeing no additional hands raised at this point, motion has been made and seconded to approve the ELB biennium budget requests, and we will now do a roll call vote on that approval. Justina.
Aye.
Yolani.
Aye.
Megan.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
I vote aye. Maury.
Aye.
And Melody.
Aye.
All right, the biennium requests for 24-25 have been approved as presented. Thank you to the EOEL for all of the work that goes into preparing these budget requests, and particularly for demonstrating how they're aligned with the priorities. I think that's particularly important for us to see where they come from and aligned with the priorities that are most urgent for us around expansion, and also ensuring that we have the connection from birth, from prenatal to entry into kindergarten, all of which are reflected in this particular budget. And I appreciate the request for the Early Learning Board as well. And we are set to move on in the agenda to the subcommittee reports. Justina, I'm going to call on you first for a workforce equity update around the Child Care Provider Appreciation Month.
Okay, thank you for allowing this time. And our agenda item is actually very short because it's more for informational purposes. There's no action except for maybe actions that you will think of on your own. So it's great that this year the legislators actually passed to create through a resolution a Child Care Appreciation Month, and that month is quickly approaching us. It's September 2022. And so our subcommittee, the Workforce Equity Subcommittee, wanted to encourage folks to think about a few different levels that you can help to celebrate that Child Care Appreciation Month, mostly so that all of our child care and preschool workers know how very appreciated they are in our community. Case. And so thinking about some ways that you can appreciate, I think in our group, we talked a little bit about just even the power of the handwritten letter or thank you note as being a good one for that. And then organizationally, there's some thoughts about how organizations may choose to more publicly or internally thank their workers. And so if that's something that's of interest for you or your organization, we would love to hear about what you guys are contemplating, or if there's some sharing that could go on. And then the third relates to some more systems coordination for celebrating the month for childcare appreciation. So one thing, if you individuals,
Any comments or questions for Justina? Please remember that you can contact Deb Zeisman, dzeisman@hawaii-can.org if you are interested in participating in any way with the Implementation Subcommittee. Ben Naki is going to share that update with us.
Thanks, Bob. So no action need to be taken today, more just sharing some information as far as the progress we're making. progress we're making as the strategic implementation subcommittee. So we've developed a template for the roadmap. Our next step is the progress we're making as the strategic implementation subcommittee. So we've developed a template for the roadmap. Our next step is to begin adding content to that roadmap. And just a reminder, we are highlighting areas that are consistent within the Act 46, such as site enrichment and location expansion, workforce enrichment and opportunity and support expansion, program quality, enhancement and expansion of data collection and data sharing opportunities and platforms. And then embedded throughout would be making sure we hit on family engagement, as well as the enhancement and expansion of a Little Hawaii medium. And so we're working on that. We're also beginning to have more discussions on the SI committee's role on supporting the state plan, the work that's being done out of the different SIPs, their efforts, and then also being in a position to support the PDG Birth Through 5 grant opportunity that should be coming out in September, or sometime in September. And that's all I got. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks. Any questions or additions from subcommittee members? And thank you, Ben, for continuing to lead this effort. The next item on the agenda relates to the systems mapping subcommittee work. And I am going to move that we vote to rescind the action taken on June 9th, 2022 regarding the systems mapping funding plan in light of the Deputy Attorney General's office determination that neither the board nor its subcommittees have the authority in statute to fundraise. So I move that motion. Is there a second?
This is Ben. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Ben. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will vote to approve the motion to rescind the action taken on June 9th, 2022 regarding the systems mapping funding plan. Justina.
Aye.
Leilani.
Aye.
Megan.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
I vote aye. Murray.
Aye.
And Melody.
Aye.
Move to rescind the action taken on June 9th, 2022 regarding the systems mapping funding plan. All right, we will move on from there to item number 7, which is an update from Lane, our institutional analyst, around Act 46. Lane, some information to share with us.
There's not very much in terms of updates. A lot of it overlaps with what Ben just provided in terms of the strategic implementation subcommittee. So a lot of it is working on the SCR 217 roadmap and a lot of what he shared, and then also continuing work with the School Facilities Authority to implement the Act 257 spending. So between those two things, that's pretty much what's been I've been pursuing at least for now.
Anyone have any questions for Lane? All right, thank you for your continued work. We appreciate it. Item number 8, any additional public comment that anyone wishes to offer? This is the time to do it. Reminder, limit is 2 minutes and the topic must relate to an agenda item. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 9, which is member updates.
I have a member update, Bob.
Okay, Ben.
So three quick things. One is I think it was in June, the National Head Start Association recognized 13 programs of excellence across the nation, and Maui Family Support Services, who provides early Head Start services, was one of those organizations. And the Program of Excellence recognizes and supports the outstanding performance of Head Start grant recipients nationwide who demonstrate excellence in program management and service and support robust positive outcomes for children birth to 5, pregnant people, families, and communities where they live. So congratulations to Maui Family Support Services. I think Adele is on the call, so awesome job, Adele. More news coming out of Maui. I feel like a news reporter. Just in the month of June, the 4th annual Hawaii Fatherhood Conference took place via Zoom, and a Head Start father from Maui Economic Opportunity Head Start was named as Father of the Year. And Maui Economic Opportunity was also awarded the Parent Friendly Business Award. And these awards are presented by the Hawaii State Commission on Fatherhood, an advisory panel to state agencies that promotes the important role fathers play in the lives of their children. So that conference was held in mid-June, and wanted to acknowledge MEO and the work that they're doing, as well as the father. And for more information on that, I believe it's posted on their MEO website. And then the last item I had to share, Chris talked about this at the last Early Learning Board meeting, is just the Head Start Association of Hawaii has developed a Hawaii Early Head Start state policy agenda that is focused on 3 issues related to early Head Start around workforce. Nothing that I think everything that you guys are already familiar with, but the issues we're focusing on is workforce shortage, limited access to care, and quality and affordability of care. And as you guys may know, Early Head Start is working with families that have children under 3 years old, as well as prenatal moms and their families. And so we do have a policy agenda that we have rolled out, and we're working with some of our partner agencies to get the word out about our agenda. It is our state associations, I want to say, like our initial attempt to kind of get some awareness out there around early Head Start, around infant and toddler care, and making sure we're at the table to have those important discussions. And so if anyone needs more information, you can contact me or Chris Jackson, because Chris also has copies of the 2 documents that we have around our early Head Start state of Hawaii policy agenda. Thank you.
Good reporting, Ben. Thank you. Just a reminder that you all have received the policy agendas from Head Start. We sent them out at the request, so you should have them in your files if you need to reference them. Any other member updates? Hey.
Yeah, I have an update. Family Hui, we are having a little music with Molly Whoopies at the Ho'omaluhia Botanical Gardens on August 27th, Saturday. So between 9:30 to 11. So if you have young keikis, bring them and we can sing and have fun.
Thank you, May. So you can see May now. People can see you. Thanks for the update. Justina, you're next.
Aloha. I'll keep it brief because you've heard from me a couple of times at this meeting, but I did want to share that the Hawaii Community Foundation recently helped to stand up what we're calling the Every Keiki Fund, and it's funding that's pooled from philanthropic folks in our community who want to come in and help align with the expansion of preschools, the opportunity that's sort of been posed with getting the $200 million spent that was passed through legislation. So for helping to create new facility spaces all across our state. We're working with Keone and with Yuko to understand like what are some of the immediate needs that maybe where philanthropic support could be beneficial. So I wanted to let people know about that as a kind of additional resource out into the early childhood community.
Thank you, Justina. Anyone else have an update for this meeting? I don't see anything. Georgina, nothing. All right, thank you for the member updates. Before, the next item on the agenda is to move into executive session, just as a reminder to the public that when we do that, the meeting is strictly scheduled for board members. Everyone else was either leave and go into a separate waiting room if you're remote, or you will have to actually physically leave this room if you are here in person during that time. And we will then resume the public meeting once the executive session is over. In order to move into executive session, you need to have a motion to enter executive session and then a vote. So I will move that the Early Learning Board move into executive session to seek guidance of the council regarding the powers and duties of the board. Is there a second? May has seconded. Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. We'll do a roll call vote to move into executive session. Justina.
Aye.
Kayalani.
Aye.
Megan.
Aye.
And
Aye.
May.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mari.
Hi.
And Melody.
Aye.
Approve the motion to move into executive session. So we shall do that and hear from, meet with our Deputy Attorney General. So if you will take care, Jordana, of setting us up separately. And
Everybody in here, put chairs out there.
oh, thank you. How nice. Thank you. And we'll now move to the final item on the agenda for the public portion of the meeting, and that's to review the agenda outcomes. These are the outcomes that I have taken out of the meeting today. First of all, the announcement that there will be a special meeting to hear the pre-publication of the RAND report on August 25th from 1 to 3 p.m. Both an in-person and a remote meeting. The in-person will be here again at the Seed Center. We have asked to see the P20 attainment goal and metrics elaboration as that plan comes forward before it moves to final approval by the P20 board. We were updated on the PGPB5 grant, but also with a request that when more information is out, Elodie has asked that board members please provide input with regard to the parameters of the grant. We received information about an access and opportunity tool that's being designed that will be utilized in our work moving forward around expansion. We also heard about the MOU with the DOE around homelessness, which is an opportunity for ELEL and the DOE to continue to work together. We finally approved the budget biennial requests for FY24 and FY25. Those are the meeting outcomes that I've taken away from this meeting. And if anyone has anything to add, we can certainly include them. Please let me know. I do not have any wonderful words to share with you, which is Carrie's job usually, other than to say thank you for the good work you all do on behalf of our keiki throughout the state. And I really appreciate all the time and energy that members of this board give to serving on committees, as well as to attending the meeting. I'm always impressed with the number who give of their time and volunteer their expertise. So mahalo to all of you. Stay cool if you can. Summer heat seems to have arrived. And we'll see you hopefully on August 25th. Aloha.
Thank you. Thank you.